I come down into the real world from the clouds. I exist in the clouds. Now they see. So now I come down into the real world from the clouds. I exist in the clouds. Now they see me out the country. It's Red Pill. He's real. He came down from the clouds. Right.
Up in the Dumbo, smoking the gumbo. Few blocks before green, yeah, up in the jungle, coconut bundles. It's history in the making. I'm popping like fish to the grease and the bacon. My bitch is Jamaican. United we stand, dividing these bands. They hide in their hands. I'm riding in vans, slide through your land. Hopping the sprinters, tore the underworld, popping the mentor. Land of the turtles, I'm popping that splinter. Watching the snowfall, dropping the winter. Dodging the pitfalls, watching this bitch fall. And I still managed like Rich Paul. The paper was calling, I had to go switch calls. I spoke to my twin, I told my young boys I'd never be broken again. Invoking the gins, spitting the spirits, I'm stoking the gin. Your man's in the woods, we smoking on him. Fuck do you mean? We up it and squeeze, tuck it and leave, we leaving a stain. Fuck up for breeze, running the banks, causing a crashing. Feather the feds, Moorish the fashion. Horse was smashing, kicking the door. Wave on 4-4s, it was blasting. Brother the gassing, loving the passion. Eat on your food, the brother was fasting. The weapon that formed against me was me. Perfected the storm as Bentley receipts. Washing the Benjis, we rinse and repeat. Century of self, I'm centered on me. Red is the pillar, I'm pushing the piece. Higher the level, I'm pushing the keys. They going for 19. The summer is mine, I'm going for 19. Thunder and lightning, flooded the bright lean. The hunger was biting, biting.
Do not allow anything to take you off of your square. It's the same thing like what we see right here. Yeah, it's cloudy, yeah, it's misty, but it ain't gonna stay like that forever.
Peace, family, peace to you and yours, peace to you and yours. Welcome to another episode of Melanin Mondays. You are now rocking with the best. Yes, this is your host for the evening, Brother Red Pill. Soon to be joined by my special guest, the legend, the one and only Baba Kaba KAMENE, Dr. Kaba KAMENE. Pardon me. All right. So before we get into the festivities, let's go ahead and get some words from our sponsors, and we shall be right back.
Healthy so you can get wealthy with True Health Love. We got everything that you need in terms of getting your body right for the fall, for the summer, just everyday wellness. We got herbal products, we got Savvy inspired meal preps, we got juice preps, and we also have our soul food takeout spot in Southern California. That's right, alkaline soul food in Southern California. Come on down. It's nutritious and delicious. Get healthy so you can get wealthy. TrueHealthLove.com. Peace.
Yes, indeed. All right. Make sure y'all sign up to the Patreon. We got Ross Ben every Wednesday for the month of October. And you also got every Sunday, I'll be doing Brother Red Pill, 40 AIs and a Mule. We've been bodying it, dropping a lot of information and whatnot. Shout out to all of my KT aliens in the building. Make sure y'all go over there, sign up to the Patreon. It's from free 99 all the way up to 99. Make yourselves pull up. You know what I mean? I'll have the I'm gonna put the description. I'm gonna put the link in the description. I'll have it pinned so you'll have access to it at any time. Pull up over there. For everybody that follows me on Instagram, definitely sign up to the Patreon because of the climate that we're in right now and the level of information that we've been talking about. I'm not going to be posting on the Instagram a lot of the hardcore stuff. It will be over there on Patreon. So you want to go over to the Patreon. You want to be part of that exclusive club, and because especially if you tapping in for the information, that's where most of that will be. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and let's do roll call and let's see who's in the building. My guests will be in the building around 10:30. All right. So make yourselves comfortable, make yourselves at home, get your pen and your pads. You dig what I'm saying? Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe. If you're not subscribed, get down with the program. We do this every Monday and we do this every Thursday. So welcome all of the newcomers. Let's go ahead and do this roll call. We got Naptown in the building. Shout out to Naptown. We got Harlem in the building. Shout out to Harlem in the building. We got Cali in the building. We got the DMV in the building. We got Dallas Fort Worth in the building. You dig? We got ATL by way of the NO in the building. We got Northern California in the building. We got East Flatbush in the building. Hey, Jefferson. I just saw a documentary on my evil twin, Boozy Badass, Terrence Kutch, whatever his name is. I didn't know the whole story before, but goddamn here, demon. San Jose. We got Florida in the building. We got Tennessee in the building. We got Denver in the building. We got Portland in the building. We got Baton Rouge in the building. Yeah. Wartown in the building. We got Spartansburg. We got Ireland in the building. We got Texas in the building. Florida in the building. Shout out to Rome. Shout out to Snellville. You dig? We got California Star Rebel in the building. Representing Jersey, BK, and Queens. We got the UK, the Mondem in the building. Shout out to the UK. Hope. We got Alabama. Cali in the building. New Brunswick. Oh, we deep up in here today. Okay. Yeah, shout out to Jamaica. You know, I'm talking about Spanish Town. You done know. You feel me? We got Alabama, Miami, Cleveland. What's up, Cleveland? What up, Miami? What up, 305? Dade County, all Augusta, VA, and whatnot. The galaxy, not the planet, mind you. The galaxy of Brooklyn. Let's get it right. You know what I'm talking about? Philly up in this thing. Newton, we got Tuscan. We got Tucson. I'm sorry. Yeah, Tucson is in the building. Orange Mound, Memphis. Yeah. Keep your head on swivel when you out there. I heard about y'all in Orange Mound and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about? Akron in the building. Vegas is outside. Bed-Stuy in this thing. Yeah, y'all up late tonight. Let me find out. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all up late tonight. Okay. So we here. Shout out to everybody in the building that pulled up tonight. All right. Welcome. Tonight we are going to have a conversation and we're going to continue a narrative that has been, that we've started on this channel where shout out to King Simon in the building, the legend. Make sure y'all go and check out 3 Milli Podcast. Me and Simon have a new video up there. If you could drop the link in the chat, King Simon, so that our people could go ahead and discover that channel and check out that podcast and tap into that information that you was dropping the other night. You dig? That'd be a good look. Okay, shit, we got more. What we doing? We getting swarmed by the Orange Mound. Shout out to all of the Orange Mound, man. Shout out to all of y'all. Last week we had Ross Ben on the show dropping some heavy information about the ties, the esoteric ties between Philadelphia, okay, and Israel, or is it real, like he says. So to carry on tradition, because my audience have been hitting me up on the email, I've been getting tons of emails, and they are very elated that we're taking this path on this teacher moment, and then we're enlightening a lot of people about what's going on, all around the world at this point. We're not going to focus on some of the negatives and whatnot, because you don't need me for that. All you have to do is go on your timeline and there are cadavers all over the place. You know, this is definitely a red October. This is definitely what we identified as a red summer. You know, I haven't seen so much carnage on my timeline, especially in this year. You know, it's happened before, but this is the window. This is the window during the Jason months where I've been exposed to war, the horrors of war. You know, and that's you know, you don't even have to go deep diving. Like, you don't have to go behind the curtain. It's right there in front of your face. So what we're going to do is we're going to balance that energy out. We're going to bring you some information that's going to heighten your senses. You know what I mean? We're going to enlighten you tonight. So I don't even want to keep going on because you know, the time has arrived, and we are going to go ahead and open up the floor, and we're going to get this thing started and whatnot. Like I said a minute ago, have your pen and your pad on deck. This is not one of those shows that you could just sit around and just feel good and laugh all night and whatnot. This show tonight is going to be laden, heavily laden with some information, some facts. We're going back in time, right? Because we don't want to go too far ahead of ourselves. This whole situation is going on. It beckons that we go ahead and we slow down and we look behind ourselves and we go a little back in time so we can understand what's playing out right now and what part do we play in the whole scheme of things. You did? In the whole scheme of things. And if you're in New York, I got some good news for you. This brother right here, Dr. Kaba KAMENE, he will be at Nicholas Bookstore this strong in, okay? He will be at Nicholas Bookstore right there in Brooklyn, right in good old Bedford-Stuyvesant, all right, with our good sister Kafunya and our good sister Monique and a few other luminaries. I'm sure Uncle Hank will be in the building along with others. And y'all need to tap in and show the good brother, the good sister, and everybody else your support. All right. In a few days out there in Brooklyn. Shout out to New York City and whatnot. I know y'all don't get a lot of lectures the way that y'all was getting them back in the days, but whenever y'all do get the light, please take full advantage of it. But I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going to go ahead and open up the doors. I'm going to roll out the purple carpet, and we're going to bring the God body, my fellow Scorpion, the Scorpion King on the stage. You dig what I'm saying? So without any further ado, I present to you KTL alumni, the one and only Dr. Kaba KAMENE in the building.
All right. Hotep,
Yes.
Hotep and
Hotep.
Another Ledge, my brother Pills.
Yes. Peace to the God. How are you?
Oh, brother, everything is excellent. I thank you for this opportunity to talk to the family, brother, particularly at this particular time in what we're going through as a people. And
right.
You know, my thing has always been to lay out a foundation of understanding and knowledge upon which you can build what it is that you'd like to develop in terms of your thoughts. You know, I've never been one for telling people how to think or what to think. I've just laid out the science of what I've come to study, to present it to the community and to understand. And then from there, you make up your own mind. As Black folk, I think we've been told too many times what to think and how to think and who to think. And so I thank this opportunity to be able to understand exactly who we are as a people and what we've done. And tonight, although many times I speak extemporaneously, I really would like to read from some books to help us understand from a deeper perspective the conditions that we find ourselves in.
Yes.
Malcolm has told us, Dr. Clark has told us that history is a clock that we use to find our political time of day. And that history is like a compass that places us on the map of human geography to help us understand and then to allow us to make the decision. My thing is not at all to tell anybody what to think.
Yes.
I'm also not here to ask you to believe me. All I want to do, and all I've ever wanted to do with our people, is to facilitate that you think. Think.
That's right. Just think.
Just think for yourself. This is what Malcolm told us when we were young, his message to young people. Think for yourself. Because the forces will have you going east when you should be going west, north when you should be going south, up when you should be going down. And I've often remembered that, particularly with my relationship with children.
Yes.
Think for yourself, critical analysis, and then come to your own conclusions as to what we're experiencing as a people right now. Understand geography of the area that we are now being exposed to.
Right.
Even when you look at Ukraine and Russia, just to understand that there was a brother by the name of Alexander Pushkin, who was a poet and a writer.
Yes.
And it was Alexander Pushkin, son of Hannibal. And he was the one that gave the Russian language its syntax and its grammar. One of the things that we have come to realize is that it is the poets and the writers that give language the syntax and the grammar of that particular language. Shakespeare did it to English. Alexander Pushkin did it to Russian. And Antara did it to what we call Arabic.
Right.
Antara, he was a poet, he was a writer. And it's the writer that, Antara, Antara.
I like how that name sounds. I like the phonetics in it.
Yeah, man, it flows off the mouth. Antara.
Antara.
And so when you understand this family, when you understand from that perspective, then you come to realize that if it wasn't for a brother by the name of Alexander Pushkin, Russians would be speaking French. Because at that time in history, Russia was under the Gaul Empire.
Right.
And the Gaul Empire, one of the languages that came out of, and it's not Romance language like Romance. It's Roman''S. It's the Romans language.
Romans, right.
That they learned from the Greeks, because Dr. Ivan van Sertima, the great scholar, taught us that in order to be a language, you must have a specific script to that specific language.
Right.
You have to have a script that's specific to it. If you don't have a specific script to the language, it's not a language, it's a dialect of the language from whence your script comes.
Okay.
And so what we call English, Spanish, French, Dutch, German, those are not languages. Those are dialects.
Dialects. Exactly. Okay.
Because they use the Greek script. The A, the B, the C in Spanish, for instance. We have the color azul.
Azul.
A-U-L, which is blue. Azul.
Yes. Azul.
Blue. In English,
Roja.
it's blue. Roja.
Right.
Red. Same letter. Rojazul. It's the same script that we use for red, R-E-D, and blue, B-L-U-E. Same script, but the way in which the coding of the symbols, the letters, creates the language. But it's not a language, it's a dialect.
It's a dialect.
Of Greek. But the Greek don't have language. Because in the so-called Rosetta Stone, where everyone says that the top language is hieroglyphics or Meduneter, and then the next is a script that is taken out of the pictographic Meduneter, hieratic, which is an everyday language written, and then underneath that they say it's classical Greek. That's not classical Greek. That's another African script that the Greeks adopted.
Right.
The Greek don't have a script. And the evidence that they don't have the script is the fact that you have Socrates.
Right.
Okay. Who is said to be the father of science.
Right.
But his father of language, his teacher is Plato. Plato is the father of philosophy. So how can you get a degree in science when your teacher was teaching philosophy?
Right. It don't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. And also we know that the great scholars, so-called of Greece, were either murdered, poisoned, or chased out of town for teaching a foreign doctrine
that they received from
the Cush Kemetic people.
Right. Who they had to sit at the feet for how many years?
It was for as long as they came into the Mediterranean basin.
Ugh.
That's who was there when they arrived from the northern climates, which ties into tonight's conversation as it relates to the northern and the southern cradle.
Right.
There is a reality out here, Brother Pill, and to the family that's listening. When someone tells a perfect lie, the truth is unbelievable.
Oh, say that again.
When someone tells a perfect lie, the truth is unbelievable.
Damn, that's a bar right there.
When you think about the concept of what we have gone through as a people, we don't understand because we don't see history.
Right. That's our void.
Yes. Because once you understand history, not just know history, understand history.
Right.
Which are sequence of events. Social science is an area that when I taught high school and middle school, social science was my subject area of focus, although I taught other subject areas when need be.
Right.
Social science or social studies incorporates 5 different subject areas: geography, history, politics, economics, and social.
They took that out of school.
History answers the question. Let me go back to the beginning. Geography answers the question where. History answers the question when. Politics answers the question how. In other words, governance. How did you govern? Economics is what. What was of your value? Supply, demand, things like that. And social is who. When you answer those questions, where, when, how, what, and who, you automatically answer the question, why.
Okay.
This is just education the way it is to be Africanized.
Right.
We teach it, but the Greeks didn't understand what the Cush Kemetic people was teaching them. The Romans enslaved the Greeks to teach them what the Cush taught them.
Right.
Western civilization is based on this big lie, and we're sitting here wondering what Marvin Gaye said. What's going on? What's going on? And so when you answer those questions and you understand the conceptual framework, then you can understand certain concepts. What I'd like to do, if I may, is I'd like to take an excerpt from the book I wrote, Spirituality Before Religions. This is on page 83. When we're talking about this area that today is called Israel, yesterday it was called Palestine.
Yes.
The day before yesterday, it was called Canaan.
Right.
Or Ka, what I like to call Ka-Nun. Ka is the spirit. Nun is the origins of things, where everything comes from.
Right.
So
the waters of Nun.
Say that again, brother.
Is that the waters of Nun?
Yes, it's the waters of Nun from whence all things come. In science, it would be the universe.
Yes.
It's where everything comes from. Everything came out of the waters of Nun. And Kanun is the spirit of that evolving factor, Kanun, which now is called Canaan.
Canaan, right.
Okay, that was the original. Now, let me tell you who the original Canaanites were.
Please, because the people need to know that so bad right now, brother.
Oh yeah.
I've never felt like I've never felt the weight of propaganda the way that I'm feeling it in these past few days. Like I'm literally seeing the dangers of being uninformed, or
Yeah.
of what uninformed people could how easily they could be persuaded.
Absolutely. But how
Yeah.
else could it be, Brother Pill?
Yes.
How else could it be when we have been rendered a people who have been purposefully underdeveloped?
Right.
Purposefully underdeveloped.
Right. And that it stands out in times like this. You know, sometimes we could slip through the cracks, but it's in times like this that you really get to see how purposely underdeveloped we were, because we were supposed to know what you're about to teach us tonight. This is something that we were supposed to know in elementary school. If they taught us that much about the Holocaust, we were supposed to know the history of that land, at least.
Yes.
At least. For
Yes.
my brothers and sisters who were, you know, caught in the early 2000s and booted up and went over there and risked their lives to fight in what is misnomered the Middle East, they should have been taught by their quote unquote army or armed services the history of that region. For those of us who said that we are people of the book, of the cloth and whatnot, whose grandmothers raised us on the Bible and things of that nature, and we committed our lives to this book, we should know the history of these tribes and these areas that have been literally in contention since our times of birth.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
please,
And,
let's cook.
and you know, Brother Pill, now that you brought that point up, this book that I wrote, Shabaka Stone, this is the origins of the Old and the New Testament.
Yes, it is.
Shabaka Stone is the Old and New Testament.
Right. Translated.
And
Or mistranslated.
And straight, but the way in which our ancestors presented it to the world was through nature. It was a
Right.
cosmological journey upon which each and every one of us was a part of this story. You were not searching outside of yourself for
Right.
your Redeemer, your Savior. You were your own Savior. You were your own Redeemer, and you were born on the planet to redeem yourself.
Yourself. That's right.
And to find the genius within you that you were born with purposefully. You were assigned an activity of a genius before you even conceived. You were conceived in order to fulfill the cosmic destiny.
You're talking right now, brother.
But as a melanated people, we were born into a world that attempted to distract you from ever finding out who you were. And that is why you were purposefully underdeveloped. And when they couldn't get it no more, they forbid you from reading. And now in 2023, what they're doing is that they are eradicating the books that should be on your library shelves.
And before we even continue, I need to get the links to those books of yours, because I have some very hungry people in this chat room. And it's like, you know, you ever been around catfish?
Oh my goodness.
You know, I'm a city boy, you know what I'm talking about? So it took me going to Texas, and my daughter was like, Daddy, I want to show you something. And she threw a piece of bread in the water in the bayou, and I saw a catfish eating. My goodness, I never saw that. No, I was blown away. They were going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So they in the chat room right now like catfish, and you throwing breadcrumbs. So I want to just drop while we building. I want to be able to drop if there's a website or if there's even like a personal link to the books.
Yes, family, please go to my website, www.kabakamene.com. KABAKAMENE.com. The books that I'm going to be reading from this evening, and even some others, which I would recommend, are on my website.
That's it right there.
Yes. Spirituality
All right.
Before Religions
Yes.
is the book I wrote to get us ready for Shabaka Stone.
Oh,
Shabaka
beautiful.
Stone is the basis coming out of an African philosophical understanding, a cosmological understanding of what we call the Old and the New Testament. It is carved on the walls throughout Africa, and not just Kush and Kemet. You can go to West Africa and see these stories. You can go to Central Africa where they originally were told. You can go down into Southern Africa and you can hear and see these stories, because the bottom line to these stories, to the Abrahamic religions, no matter how you look at it, if you go back in time to our people who wrote it, the story was about the resurrection of the soul in the afterlife. Our ancestors believed that when you were born, your spirit died. And it was entombed in this thing we call a jet or a body. When you die, they believed that your spirit was reborn.
Right. Henceforth, cry at birth and laugh at death. Right.
That's right.
This was considered to be somewhat of a prison because it restricts the Ka from being able to do the things that the sentient light being is able to do, such as, you know, we in this body, it's almost like the sentence is gravity. The sentence is you're going to have 5 senses. These are what we may perceive to be as gifts, right? Because we don't know ourselves. Ultimately, what we're able to do without the constrictions of the flesh is so much more.
Absolutely. And if I may add another sense, a sixth sense.
A sixth one. Yes.
Thinking. Thinking is a sense.
It is. Would they call that ESP?
There's a number of things you can call it, because you have 3 eyes.
You definitely do.
You have 3 nostrils.
Break that one down for me. break the 3 I caught the 3 eyes.
Yeah, well, from the perspective of when you go in deep inside of an understanding of this sentient being that we're speaking of.
Right.
You have the physical manifestations of life on earth, but you have the spiritual manifestations. You see, when Mama said to you, you see what I'm talking about? She wasn't talking about your 2 eyes.
Right.
She was talking about that 3rd eye, that spiritual eye.
Right. That intuition.
That's it. When she said, you hear what I'm talking about? She wasn't talking about your 2 ears. She was talking about that spiritual ear of comprehension.
Right. The inner ear.
You ever smell something that ain't in the air? That's your 3rd nostril.
Yes, I
You ever
definitely.
taste something that's not in your mouth? That's your 2nd tongue. You ever feel something that didn't touch you?
Yeah.
That's your 2nd skin.
So
for every physical manifestation of a sense, percept, we have a spiritual manifestation of it.
Right.
And that is where the ancestors reside. That's where your ancestors reside.
Almost like our subtle bodies.
That is it.
Wow. Okay.
That is it. And it is manifested through your chakra system.
Right.
And your chakra system, when animated to the highest levels of intuitive intuition or cosmic consciousness, begins to emanate outside of your body.
Right.
Where it becomes what's called the prana aura.
Right.
That everything is so deep and manifesting and vibrating on the frequency of the cosmos, your body can't contain it. So it moves out, and it comes in colors.
Right.
It comes in waves. You ever been around somebody that you can feel a heat coming up out of that?
Right. Before you even get up on them, you can feel the energy.
That's it. James Brown calls it a cold sweat.
A cold sweat.
He wrote a song about that. Cold sweat.
Okay. I could dig it.
That's African funk. That's what we're talking about here. And that is why we have been purposefully underdeveloped, because family, if we ever understood our truest potential, we would understand that we are the creator having a human experience.
That's right. And we would be able to tap into what you titled our super sapien selves.
That's it, brother. Because see, we are around superficial sapiens.
Ugh.
And superficial sapiens understand that if the super sapien get out, you'll never be able to catch them. I call it the Simone Biles effect.
Take off. That's
When
right.
Simone Biles does things, they say, no, you can't do that. She said, why not? She said, because we can't do it. And if you do it, you're going to raise the bar to a point we'll never be able to catch up.
Right. Right.
And they do this. Family, we don't understand how great we are. We really don't. Because if we did, we'd pool our resources. As one of the most powerful nations within a nation, financially and spiritually, if we really understood who we were as a people, we'd be able to take us to a point where can't touch this. Isn't that what MC Hammer used to say? Can't touch this.
No.
We wouldn't have to worry about no weapons. They would have no weapons that could touch this.
No weapon to form. None of them.
This is the reality that we see.
Could it be that we are so powerful that we're somewhat afraid of that power and we begin to sabotage not just ourselves but others?
All right.
Because we don't want to infuriate or we don't want to be too powerful. Like, we're content.
Brother, it you know what it's called is that when you think about it, it's called an imposter syndrome.
There you go. Imposter syndrome.
In fact, when I did that 3-part lecture series on the webinars on the super sapiens, I was coming up out of the 4-part series on the Moors and going into the manifestation of the super sapien. But to understand that, we as the Black folk have to understand, when you have been purposefully underdeveloped, they teach you that whenever you feel in your greatness, to put yourself in. See, because I tell people all the time, I am not humble. And I don't have no humility. That's not a good word.
That's a bad word for anybody that don't know.
Just look it up. Google humble.
Man.
Basically, what it is that you put yourself in a lower position and put those who are less than you in a higher position.
Right.
Because you don't think yourself worthy of greatness. I'll give you an example. Whitney Houston. One of the most powerful eulogies I heard came from Kevin Costner at Whitney Houston's funeral. It's about 20 minutes and something, where he told a story about Whitney Houston, who when he wanted her specifically for the movie The Bodyguard.
Right.
She did not feel that she was, first of all, talented enough.
I remember.
Or worthy enough.
Or worthy, right.
Okay. Now, when you see her, I Will Always Love You, when she sing that song and her lips stop quivering,
man,
because that prana aura is taking over her body and she feeling the African Holy Ghost.
Right.
Okay, when you see her acting, when you hear her singing, nobody could have done that like her.
Nobody.
Yet she felt inferior to that.
Right.
That's the imposter syndrome. I think Michael Jackson suffered from the imposter syndrome.
Right.
I
suffered from it. Before I turned my lights on, I would not want white people to feel uncomfortable around me, when we was expressing our greatness. Like, I would feel uncomfortable for white people.
Yeah.
Like, we would be on the train and we would be getting loud and everything. We would actually be on the way we wasn't, we was up to no good. And there was still something inside of my subconsciousness that was making me turn down because I was in a train full of white folk, and I'm in my teenager years. I remember that clearly. And I remember in the midst of it all asking myself, nigga, why are you shrinking around? Just be authentically you. But there's something that was so subtle in my subconsciousness. Maybe it was because my father showed us ragtime when we were coming up. Maybe it was because of watching Eyes on the Prize. Maybe it was, just all of the things that we picked up on in the 70s and the early 80s and whatnot that kind of suggested that, nigga, you have to stay in your place.
That's it. That's it. And when you get out of your place, they call you uppity.
Called you uppity, yeah.
But guess what? You are uppity because you are ascending into the next realm beyond them. You're doing the Simone Biles effect.
Right.
By matter of degree, we all suffer from it. Let me tell you about Lloyd Austin, the general who is now the department
commander. Right. Yes.
He told stories of when he was the general under control. And he said that whenever he had to give the lower troops orders, he would have the white officers give the order because
right.
He felt that they would not obey him as a black man. He said that, he's a big man with a very booming voice. He said he had to pull himself back.
Right.
When he was around other peoples of European descent, because the power that he gave off was so powerful.
So powerful, right. The fragility, they call it the white fragility syndrome.
Yes.
He probably was, nervous about, like you said, them disobeying his commands and whatnot, because he was so commanding.
Yes.
And he probably couldn't even find somebody in the armed services or in the armed forces that he could even measure himself to. He probably was him. But now look at him rising through the ranks, right? What he probably already initially knew, now everybody else is acknowledging it by him rising through the ranks. So yeah, man, this is something that we as a people, even in our quote unquote reprogramming, it can, we could, that program could get triggered, right? Subconsciously, even though we consider ourselves out of the matrix and things of that nature. There, you could watch a commercial, or you could watch a TV show, or you could listen to certain music or whatnot. It could be triggered subconsciously for you to begin to shrink yourself around what you've been misnomered and told as dominant society, or what they call white superiority, or somebody supreme and whatnot. Well, we know that in and of itself is a program. That's malware.
Yeah.
I try not to even utter those words. Whenever that word comes out, I immediately, through the English language, diffuse that bomb. If I say white superiority, I immediately, fragility, white inferiority, my bad. Because I don't even want to utter that word, because it's a false narrative. So it shouldn't even be coming from me. It's a super oxymoron.
Because there's nothing superior about white.
Not a thing.
In fact, I don't even like the terms superiority and inferiority, because in the next book I'm writing on melanin, there's a section that I'm doing where I'm talking about Punnett square.
Yes.
Which in science is the big B and the little b. The big B is the dominant gene, and the little b is the recessive gene.
Right.
Talking about Melanin Mondays.
Huh.
Melanin is what produces the dominant gene.
Right.
And the lack of the production of melanin produces the recessive gene.
Right.
And the comment, once you go black, you don't go back. Well, that's a scientific term. I understand we put it in terms of relationships and things like that. But the reality of it is that once the big B and the little b come together, you will always have the remnants of the big B that's going to be dominant. And it's the only little b in little b that will ever produce a little b. A big B and a little b do not produce a little
Right.
b.
Right.
That's
Right.
just that's scientifically impossible.
Right. Shout out to Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, who
Absolutely.
you know, she helped cure me of the sickness that I had of ignorance as well with the ISIS papers, and completely begin to turn my lights on. And like you said, you know, when the conversation or when the lexicon changed to recessive and dominant, it scientifically, you know what I mean? It kind of like it made up for all of the lying that they did to, you know, in science and biology and all of these other classes and schools that I was in. Like just reading that book retroactively just washed all of that away and allowed me to, once again, what you perceive is what you believe. So my perception on everything changed. Okay. When I came across your lectures in the 80s on cassette tape, it changed my whole perception of everything. So what initially began to happen is that I had a vision of a certain human being in my mind, right? Because we're going to talk about David and Goliath as we move forward into the story tonight. But there was a Goliath in my in my peripheral. There was a Goliath in my perceived reality, and it didn't look like me. You know, I was thinking that Europeans were 100 feet tall, Baba, based off of my early programming and my quote unquote the falsehoods that were given to me. I saw another human being as being giants in my eyes. So they were shrunken down in size, you know, almost like the video game Super Mario, you know, when he hits an obstacle and he goes, meow, meow, meow. So, and now based off of the research, right? Just the research, not what I think, not what I feel, what I know. And from what I know, how my perception and my reality changed, what was shown to me. Okay, so what I perceive now and what I clearly see through both eyes, and the third is that the people who I was looking up as giants are really dwarfs.
That's it. The Wizard of
In the
Oz.
whole scheme of things.
That's it. We're living in the land of Oz, brother.
Man, talk about it.
And we're looking at the Wiz as the answer to all things that we need.
Right.
Dorothy wanted to go home. The Scarecrow wanted a brain. The Tin Man wanted a heart. And the Lion wanted courage. And when all was said and done, the Wiz, smart enough to get them to take the witch's broom so that he would be the main control center, because she was the other power in the land of Oz.
Right.
But the way in which you could prove that you got her was to bring her broom.
Right.
That cleans things up. And what killed her? Water.
Right.
Truth and justice.
Right.
And when they brought the broom to the Wiz, all of a sudden, people came to realize Scarecrow wanted a brain, but he's the one that devised the plan.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the Wiz said, well, you had a brain. You were the one that devised the plan. All of a sudden, he starts spouting out E equals MC squared and all the rest of that. And then you have the Tin Man that wanted a heart. And the Wiz said, but you were the ones that put everything you needed on the line to make things happen. He gave him a false heart that began to pound. And all of a sudden, the Tin Man had a heart.
Had a heart, right. The
But
whole
the
time.
Lion was the one that protected them all. And all of a sudden, the Wiz tells the Lion, well, you were the one that had the courage to protect everybody. All of a sudden, he feels proud. And then all of a sudden, he goes away in a hot air balloon. And here come Lena Horne, because I do the Wiz, not the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, I do the Wiz too, my brother.
Yeah, here come Lena Horne, and what does she say? Believe in yourself.
Right.
And Dorothy figures out that all she had to do to go home was to click her heels 3 times and say she wanted to go home.
That's right. He's on down the road.
That's it. Put your belief system in someone else to solve your problems, not realizing Dorothy could always have gone home. The Scarecrow always had a brain. The Tin Man always had a heart. And the Lion always had courage.
Damn.
And we're walking around here looking for someone else to give us something that we were destined to possess when we were born.
Mm.
In fact, we possessed it before we were even conceived. And so what we're experiencing as a people right now is a perfect lie told to a people that were purposefully underdeveloped, whose only characteristic we possibly could have is humility, to be humble in the face of those munchkins in the land of giants.
Mm.
And this is who we are as a people.
Right.
We have to play ourselves down. My mama used to say, you have to be a black man and a black woman has to be superior in order to be equal in America.
That's
And
a fact.
my brother, Dr. Gabriel Oyibo, and I'm telling everybody that's online right now checking this out, I want to tell you something. Own your greatness.
Mm.
Own it.
Shit.
Celebrate. Know the areas that you're not great, but those areas that you're great, own it.
Definitely.
When you see a brother, a brother get on the basketball court, brother say, I got game. What the brother's saying is, I know what I'm doing.
Right. I'm a master of this shit right here.
That's okay. I got game.
I got game. Right.
That's how I feel when I step in the classroom.
That's right.
I got game.
How many years in the Board of Education for your new people who are just catching on?
Well, right now, brother, we are moving into 47 years.
That's right.
I started teaching in 1977. August of 1977.
I was born in 75.
All right. You were 2 years old when I started teaching, brother.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. And I learned so much from my students.
Right.
Much of my success I give to my kindergarten students who taught me how to break things down to its lowest common denominator.
Right.
You walk into a kindergarten class, you can't say 1 + 1 = 2.
Right.
You can't assume that those students at 5 years old know what the symbol 1 means, or what the plus sign is, or what the equal sign is. You can't assume that. So you got to start from the very beginning of symbology. Because I look at math as symbology, like Lloyd Strayhorn.
Right.
And like King Simon, the numerator.
The numerators, right. The numerologists.
That's it. When you understand numbers, when you understand how the numbers represent the cosmic universe,
right.
When you see in the background of what you're looking at right now, you see all those numbers dropping behind us.
Yes.
Okay, that's the universe.
Code. That's the code. Yep.
Know the ledge.
That's right.
And there's only really 2 numbers. There's only 2 symbols. That's the 0 and the 1.
That's right.
That's all that exists.
That's it.
The duality of time and space. This is what we understand as a people. This is what built the pyramids. This is what built Black love between brothers and sisters. Between understanding who we were as a people. This is what built civilization. And
they say that, I'm sorry. They say that love is able to, I'm trying to remember the exact word, but in man and woman coming together, we do something to math that is not necessarily, is known, because they say 1 + 1 = 2, but 1 + 1 = 3 when man and woman come together because they produce child.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that is the original Trinity, the unity of 3.
That's right.
It is Asar, Aset, and Heru.
And Heru. That's right. That's that new. It's been keeping us going for a few billion already, right? About a billion now.
Oh, hey, listen, man. Time. It goes back in time before the beginning began.
That's right.
And we were there. And we'll be there after forever ends.
There never was a time when man wasn't.
Never.
Never.
And we are merely born to be entombed in this body in order to ascend to a higher level of consciousness, so that we, the creator, who originally wanted to know him herself, but could not because they were spirit.
Right. Had to negate.
In physicality, in order to evolve.
Right.
And when the heart got to the right size, and the knees got to the right size, and the lungs got to the right size, and the brain got to the right size, then the creator said, now from evolution comes involution.
Mm.
And I'm going to search for the creator within.
Right.
And our ancestors found the creator within. And they wrote about the creator. And we're living amongst Yurugu, those who are the incomplete ones,
Mm.
who know not themselves nor the creator. And what we have to do as a people is to understand who we are. And once we understand who we are, then all other things will go to the wayside.
That's right.
And then we'll be able to sing, Can't Touch This. Simone Biles, nobody can touch Simone Biles.
That's right.
Michael Jordan and all the other sports figures, nobody can touch that. Do we wonder why they didn't want us in sports? I don't. If I would have,
that's apparent. Right.
But
I wouldn't want you there either.
Brother Pill, the same thing that we did on the basketball court, on the tennis court, the baseball field, on the gymnasium floor as a gymnast.
Yes.
We also do that in the classroom.
Yes.
And that's what I've dedicated myself to
Yes,
become so intelligent, and to have our children be able to become so intelligent that they will not be able to test our children, because they will not have the intellectual capacity to know what to ask our children, because our children will be beyond them.
Right. Ashe, and I do know that that's possible.
That's facts, brother, because I've seen it.
That's a fact.
I've worked with indigo children.
Mm-hmm.
Say again?
Man, no, I bear witness. They've crossed my path many a times, and I'm telling you, the knowledge that they possess don't come from a book. It don't come from a book. They are completely coming with the cosmos, bro.
Gee, my goodness.
3 and 4 and 5-year-olds. You know,
I've been with 7 indigo children in my career in the Board of Ed.
Oh, beautiful. Do you still stay in touch with them?
No, I don't.
By any chance? Okay.
I wish I did, but no, I don't. I guess that's all part of the book, brother.
It is. It is.
But while I was with them, brother, the last one that I worked with was towards the end of my career in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
I was with this indigo child from grade 5 to grade 8.
Mm.
And one of the things about indigo children, which I think we all can identify with, is they have a very severe problem with authority.
Right.
Okay. Is it too late? Can we use profanity?
Yeah, we good now.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I'm not going to say too much. I'll
No, you can say whatever you want to say now, brother.
Yeah,
it's just 8 minutes into the show. We have to be we got to kind of tiptoe 8 minutes in, because the algorithm picks up on that. But we good now.
Well, I'll just be careful in general, and you'll get the sense of what I want to say.
Yes. This
student was just a genius. Okay, he was just sheer genius.
Mm-hmm.
He never got an answer wrong on a test.
Wow.
Be it school-based or statewide. Never got an answer wrong. he found himself getting into so-called trouble all the time because he knew more than the teachers did. And he did not have, as a young person, he would let them know.
Right. He didn't have that chill button.
No, he didn't have no chill buttons on. He said, that's stupid. And he would even call some of the teachers the B.
Right.
In fact, some teachers, the MFB.
Oh, man.
Because you're stupid.
Right, right.
And of course, you know, in the school where I was, there was an open window with glass. And all of a sudden, I would hear a knock. And there he is. They done kicked him out of class.
Right.
So he used to come to me. And I used to help him. I used to have him help me be my assistant teacher. About books, you know, because I used to have to, at this particular time, the story I'm telling you now, I was a teacher that had my books on like a push cart where I would go.
Yeah, right.
I did not have my own classroom.
Right. You were moving from class to class.
Exactly. And so I would have him give out my books. I would have him collect the books if I had something to give out. And I would say to him, you know, when he and I would be in the hallway going to the next class or whatever it was going, because sometimes he used to have to go to lunch with me because they said he can't come down to the lunchroom.
Right.
But you see, I could connect with that brother because he was a genius.
Of course.
And I used to say, what happened? And he said, well, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so, you know, she just gets on my case and I can't help but tell her that she's a stupid bee. I can't help it. He said, Brother Kaba, it just come out my mouth. I don't have no control.
Right.
And he used to say, don't you think she is? And I'd say, listen, yes, she is. But you can't tell her that.
Right.
Because you got to understand power. Okay. He said, I understand power. And I've got power. He said, she don't have power. Because the only time she could have power, this is what he told me. The only way she could have power is if she had power over my mind.
Oh, that's how he saw it.
That's how he saw it. That's what
Right.
power was to him.
He didn't see the relationship of student and teacher, and he was there, and there was a power structure.
That, hey, F the grades.
Right.
What they going to do to me? I don't get nothing wrong, so what they going to do?
Right.
He said, because this is some shallow anyway.
See, look, perception is key. The way that he perceived
That's right.
himself in the system that people may have wanted him to perceive in a different way because he knew better. He like, nah,
That's
that.
Right. That's right. That's exactly what he said. I ain't going for that. One time I remember in the hallway of the school, there was an old rickety piano. You know, and sometimes people would come by and tink at it, you know, it was off key. And one time we heard a piano playing.
Right.
And it was just, it sounded good.
Right.
And I came outside and there's this brother that I'm talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
And people passed during the passing of classes. The next period was lunch for me and lunch for him. And I said, listen, I said, somebody fixed the piano? He said, yeah, I did.
Right.
And I said, wow, man, how long you been studying piano? He said, I never studied piano. I just heard in my mind that it wasn't making the right sound.
Right. He knew what it's supposed to sound like.
That's right.
And
the cosmic
hacked
knowledge.
it. Right. Cosmic knowledge. He hacked it. He tinkered with it.
That's it. The harmony.
Remember, we're tinkers.
That's it. That's it. He never studied piano. He just knew after a while the sounds he was hearing from those keys weren't right. But not just that, he played the piano.
Right.
And not only could he fix the piano, he could play the piano, but never studied the piano.
That's right. That's the
That's,
sign of the indigo. That's
that's
right.
an indigo child. And so many of us are like that. And you know what's also very disappointing? So many indigo children become indigo adults, but don't know it.
Man, talk about it.
I've come in contact with adults that are just supremely genius, nodding out from Heron,
Man.
escaping the pain that we feel as a people for having been purposefully underdeveloped. We're escaping the pain that we feel, not realizing what a genius we are as a people. This is who we are.
Sometimes being a genius can be painful.
It's very painful.
In a world where genius is not rewarded, in a world where genius is preyed upon. Because keep in mind, I'm from the generation where geniuses were fair targets.
Yep.
They didn't pave a way for the geniuses to be leaders. They didn't pave a way for the geniuses to be the head of the household. They didn't pave a way for the geniuses to be the quote unquote big homies. You feel me?
Yeah.
They manipulated the geniuses to make a deal with the devil. They put them niggas in kitchens in front of stove. You feel me? They made geniuses the mules and the getaway drivers. That's what they did to geniuses where I'm from. If they got a hold of a genius, you know, that's why being a genius is something that people hide in certain environments because it could cost you your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is what humble is.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're hiding genius. You're an imposter. You believe you're an imposter.
Right.
When someone says to you, wow, that was a great idea. Oh, no, what you were talking about, that's the great idea.
Right.
But I'm thinking, hey, you know, what is that? You put yourself down to put someone else up because you feel you are not worthy of the greatness that you possess. As a people, that's who we are.
That's right.
I see it all the time. I've taught at Rikers Island. They have a high school in Rikers Island.
Oh, I got my GED. Well, I didn't get my GED there, but I was in class.
Okay. I taught at Rikers Island.
I was there in 93, C-74, where I was supposed to be in high school. So just imagine how my father, who is an English professor at Queens College, been that before I was even born, and still is that. Imagine how he felt when he had to tell his colleagues, and they were like, "Yeah, so when are the twins graduating?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, one of them niggas is on C-74 right now, you know, but he's gonna get a GED. Don't worry about it." So, yeah, that goes back to the earlier conversation about geniuses and the routes of self-sabotage, and you know, just what environment could do to genius.
Absolutely.
And I was in those classes that you speak of, and to learn in that environment was very, you know, how can you? You were there.
Yeah.
How can you learn how could you learn in an environment where you had to basically watch yourself from getting sliced and cut?
Oh yeah. You know that room in Rikers Island where it's like a holding place before you actually go in?
They call it the why me pen.
They show you all the different ways that you could create weapons out of things that you would never even think. You know, the filters of cigarettes you melt down into a plastic that can become
harden it.
A razor.
That's right.
And then they show pictures of the end result of that particular weapon.
Right. They'll show you the cuts.
Yeah. And what happens from those weapons. And I remember going in, I first went into the chapel to speak to the group. And then I went into the classroom. And one of the interesting things about the classroom, Brother Pill, is that the only difference between the classroom in Rikers Island and the classroom that's in a basic middle school is the fact that the correction officers are in the hallways and the office aides are in the hallways in schools. The same screens
Right.
up against the window.
Everything the same.
It's the same exact thing. The same way you got to come into the building, going through all of those safety
Right.
devices. Same exact thing.
Same exact thing. Right.
Schools
Same
and
exact
are
thing.
the same, brother.
That prison pipeline shit is so real.
So
And
real.
well, we talking about NYCHA, right? New York City public housing. So public housing, the community center, the way that the windows, you know, all of that, even the colors of the bricks that bear similarities to not Rikers Island, but up north when they send you to the prisons. When you go from Holden Jail, City Jail to the prison, that's where it mimics everything from like New York City public housing. They have a place called Downstate.
Okay.
I'm talking about, you would think you were in Fort Greene and then like in the courtyard, but Rikers Island is Board of Education. They I guess they had the same planners and contractors and whatnot. And for anybody that ever flew into New York City, when you're going into LaGuardia and you fly over that facility right before you get into the airport, that whole island, that's Rikers, that's the jail right there. And yeah, man, they definitely had us feeling like we were back in high school inside of those classrooms. But the only thing, like you said, it's a correctional officer holding it down. And I remember there was, to be honest with you, they would watch us closer. They was watching us more closely in real school than they were on Rikers Island.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
Brother, I remember it so clear. Some of the most brilliant minds I ever met were in Rikers Island. Rikers Island and Special Ed are two areas that I've met some of the most brilliant minds in my life.
Yeah.
I've come to the conclusion that's why they're there, because they are the most dangerous to the society.
Oh, for sure.
Because just like that brother wasn't going to take no mess from the teacher,
right?
That's how come a lot of brothers and sisters get involved. I used to visit the Rose Singer Wing, where the sisters were.
The women.
The Rose Singer Wing.
Yeah, Rose Singer. Yeah.
And when I used to do those presentations in there, I used to look at those sisters and I used to say, wow, they're still in the wombs.
What is that? C73, I think.
I'm not sure the number, brother.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful sisters.
Yeah, Rose Singer.
Yeah.
I remember
we would see them they have them on the bus with us going to court.
Okay.
And like you said, and this is, remember, this is 93. So the gang thing didn't necessarily take off. It was budding inside of the system at that point with the Bloods and everything. That's when it first started its inception. So by time like 99 or 2000 hit, a lot of the women began to get ushered into that's when the women thing started to take off, up to the point now where the women's jails are as notorious as the men's jails. And they're packed to the they're packed to the brim with offenders and whatnot. Back in the early 90s, it was like minor drug offenses and things of that nature. The women were getting caught up. But man, it's gotten so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the result of purposefully being underdeveloped.
Underdeveloped. Yeah, you absolutely correct.
Purposefully underdeveloped. And this is what they do in the society, is that they create an environment that is purposefully underdeveloping you. And this is why they are taking books off shelves. You know, in Texas, they're taking books off shelves and making them detention centers. They're making the library detention center.
I heard about that.
Okay. This goes back to when they were burning Kush books. What they couldn't understand, they took off the shelf. And that's what's going on now.
Right. Modern day book burning.
That's
exactly Florida. Right. And then in Florida, you have the whole critical race theory debacle with DeSantis and whatnot, where they are they're taking a page out of the Donald Trump book and they're creating alternative realities.
Absolutely. Don't believe the truth. Believe what I tell you.
Believe what I tell you, because I'm white and I say so.
And that's it.
Right.
This
We're
is
going to
how-
revise history in front of, we don't care what position the Negroes are in politically. We don't care about your money. We don't care about your fake prestige. We are literally going to alter time in your face on your watch, and you're not going to say anything about it. And not only will we lie to your children, we're going to lie to your children 10 times more than we lied to you in the age of information. How about that?
Yeah. That's
In an
right.
age where people got Encyclopedia Britannicas, you have the world's research in your phone, but we're going to lie to your children even more than what we messed y'all up with the little lies that we told you. Not only are we going to do that to the children, we're going to lie to them even more and confuse them. And we're going to do that with a smile on our face. And people are really, they here for it.
Yeah. Well, it's up to us. When all is said and done, it's know the ledge.
It is.
You know, it's Melanin Mondays.
Yes.
It's things that all of us do in the face of that. This is like what I call the Underground Railroad.
Damn.
The Underground Railroad frees your body, but the Underground Railroad frees your mind. And so this
one tonight.
And you're a conductor, like Harriet Tubman was a conductor on the Underground Railroad. Brother Pill is a conductor on the Underground Railroad to free your African mind.
Ooh, I might run with that one. Shout out to UGR. Shout out to Brother Rich with the Underground Railroad. That's Black Magic. He started out as UGR. Shout out to my guy. I'm loving it. Is this a result of you being up at late at night? Because I know that you know, Scorpios, they be on their nocturnal stuff. But you going in tonight, you know what I'm saying? You hitting you hitting 3-pointers from the halfway line.
Oh, brother, I'm telling you, man, Panthers prowl at night. I'm
about to say, man, if y'all catch Kaba after 10 p.m., watch out now.
That's it.
You're gonna be in rare form.
2 in the morning, I'm at my peak at 2. Between 2 and 4, I'm at my peak.
Don't get me tempted, because I'm thinking about starting a early morning podcast. You know what I'm saying? For the night hours. Don't get me started.
Listen, man, but some of us, that's my biorhythm.
That's right.
We all have a different biorhythm.
We do.
Some of us live under the sun. Some of us live under the stars.
That's right. That's right.
And the same power you get from the sun is the same power you can get from the stars.
That's right. Tap into that canopy and turn on.
That's just, some people are astronomers, are night eyes.
That's right.
Security forces are night eyes.
Right.
And so when you know your biorhythm, see, all my life, I've either been in school or teaching school or working. So my schedule has been daytime. But in 2009, when I retired and I was able to understand how my biorhythm worked, within 3-4 years, I was operating at night, not during the day. I was going to bed sometimes at the times I used to get up.
Right. Man, I thought that was just me. You know what I mean?
It's biorhythm, brother.
Because in 2005, when I hired myself, I decided to start working for myself, and I fired the streets, and I hired myself, and I started making my own hours. And like you said, at 6:30, 7 a.m., when normal people were waking up, I was turning Bobby and Phil and you and Delbert and the master teachers off of the DVDs. That was the DVD era. And it got to a point where I even was able to not even eat anymore. So the need to even eat went away, because I had a full diet of the information. That was that and some water. And back in the days, my brother had the gold water and the sea moss. That was my nourishment. But the information turned into a food source. And if I wanted to go to bed, I could not. My biorhythm changed and I was like, I was tapped into the witching hour, and I had to get the information at 3 and 4 a.m. It hit differently than if I was listening to it at 8 or 9 at night and whatnot. I had to get it in those hours.
Yeah.
And it changed everything. My biochemistry was shifted as a result of those late nights.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
It's science.
It definitely is.
Yeah, man.
But I don't want to get too far ahead of the fact that we have a history lesson. We giving the people everything that they need right now, but I want to zero in specifically on the information that we're going to share with the people tonight about what is going on in this region that has been misnomered the Middle East.
Yes.
Specifically the land of Canaan, Judah, that they're calling Palestine, and they've misnomered. Is it real? So briefly, I want to get into a history a quick history session with you, Kaba.
Okay.
And we're gonna wash up on the shores of the Mediterranean, and we're gonna get into the history, the glorious history of this land, this enchanted land.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to do, brother, if I may, is I'd like to read from my book, Spirituality.
Oh, yes.
Because I want to be exact in what I say. This comes out of my book, Spirituality Before Religions, page 83. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to set up an understanding as to what brought down the glorious old kingdom of Kemet at the 6th dynasty.
Yes.
And to do that, what I try to do is, who were the Eurasians that ended this glorious Kushite kingdom? And when you look at the geography of this area, this specific area, that is, if you go to Egypt, or what we call Egypt, and if you start to move north, you're going to move into Israel.
Yes.
Okay. If you keep going north, you are going to move into Lebanon.
Yes.
You keep going, you go into what's called Syria. Okay. As you move further, what might be considered to be east, you go into Jordan. And then you got, Iraq, Iran, and things like that.
Right.
Afghanistan, Pakistan. But what I want to do is stay in this area that we call Egypt and Israel for now.
All right, let's do it.
And I'd like to just take a piece out where it's Dr. Riketi Wimbi Amen, the brilliant sister who brought us deeper understandings of Medu Neter.
Yes.
She translates an important essay written by Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, the great Senegalese scholar, that discusses the origin of these invaders. Now we're talking about this area. The Grimaldi Negroes of the Soltrian, which is about 20,000 BC, suggest the sudden appearance of Cro-Magnon man, the first Europeans.
Real quick, it was quoted that the Grimaldis come out of the region? Is that the region? Is that Algiers? Are we talking the Algerians? Or are we talking Kemet?
Well, when you talk about Grimaldi,
the Greeks.
Well, what Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop does in his book, Civilizational Barbarism, what he does is that he talks about a northern cradle and a southern cradle.
Yes.
He talks about the migrations of Africans as Homo sapiens out of Africa into the northern climate, which is the 51st parallel. He calls this the zone of confluence. Okay. Where there's a dividing line, which basically is the 51st parallel line latitude.
Zone of confluence?
Yeah, confluence.
Okay.
CONFLUENCE.
Gotcha.
And this zone literally creates almost like a cap on the earth, on the top of the earth. This zone cuts Ireland in half. It cuts England in half. It comes through Netherlands, Holland, comes around throughout, and it creates a cap on top of the earth.
Okay.
Northern Asia is there, and there's mountain ranges. When Africans migrated out, they migrated out during what's called a warming trend, an interstadial. And when they migrated out, what they didn't realize that was in a couple of thousand years, there was going to be an ice age that was going to come upon them. An ice age always starts out of Greenland, but it starts underground.
Mm.
And what happens is that this freezing of the northern climate froze the mountains, the Caucasus Mountains, the Pyrenees Mountains. You go through all the mountain ranges of the northern area. These Africans were locked into this area. These Africans are who call the Grimaldi.
Okay.
Okay. Now, there is evidence in Monaco that they were doing diggings in the late 1800s and early 1900s. They were doing construction. And what happened is they came upon these bones. And what they decided to do was to halt construction and let the government know they came upon human bones.
Right.
They came upon these bones, and what they decided to do was they studied the bones, and they came to find out that these were bones of a people that would be called the Cro-Magnon.
Cro-Magnon, right.
Cro-Magnon. There's an essay in the African Presence in Europe written by Legrand Clegg. It's the book is edited by Dr. Van Sertima. The African Presence in Early Europe. Legrand Clegg writes a book called The First Invaders.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about this movement. They stopped and they began to study these bones. And then they went to a place that's known as Grottes les Enfants, which means the children's cave.
Okay.
Grotto is like a cave.
Like a grotto. Right.
A grotto. Okay. And what they did is they started to dig. And what they found and they went down 12 layers.
Mm.
And what they found on the top layer was these same Cro-Magnon bones. But when they got down to the 9th layer, they came upon a people, a woman and a child that was buried that was so different from the people on top.
Top, right.
They named them after the family of Monaco, which is Grimaldi. They call this Grimaldi people.
Mm.
They found that these Grimaldi people were straight up black.
I saw the bone structure of the Grimaldis, and just the skeletons alone.
Yes.
Look melanated. I'm talking about strong jawbones, real distinguished skulls.
Absolutely. It's called the prognostic jaw.
Prognostic jaw.
Prognostic. Prognostic. And a prognostic jaw is the jaw that juts out from the face. This is an African skull.
Right.
Prognostic.
Mm.
But the Cro-Magnon has what's called an orthognathic. 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 Now, the way you judge it is they have this thing called a craniometric machine.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Clarissa asked, where were they found? Monaco is the boundary between Italy and France.
Yes.
It's the Kingdom of Monaco, very small kingdom between Italy and between the countries Italy and France.
By any chance, I don't mean to cut your wisdom. Is Cheddar Man considered Grimaldi?
They don't even know what Cheddar Man is. They done created a whole new look.
Oh, they gave him a makeover. Cheddar Man got a makeover.
Yeah. Basically, they did. Now, I'm not saying that his physical attributes are not accurate, But what I'm saying is that they're trying to slide into the truth sideways,
As always.
as it relates to the texture of the hair, the color of the eyes, but the skin complexion is melanated.
Right.
But the reality of it is, the hair is far more coarse. The
Coarse,
original
yeah.
Europeans, the hair is far more coarse, kinky or nappy, if you want to say it that way.
Right.
The eye color is not yet blue or green,
Yeah, it didn't have that defect yet.
but there are Africans that have blue eyes
It is.
that are not impacted by Europeans. There are Africans in Australia that have blonde hair.
Yeah, and the Solomon Islands and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that, the idea of nature and the way nature reacts is very important also, because there are exceptions to all rules. I don't speak in absolutes.
That's right.
But
And they say the DNA, I'm sorry, they
No,
say
no,
the DNA responds to environment, like you're saying. Just,
yes.
there are no rules, because based off of the locations of where we are on this earth, our genome, our phenotypes will differ.
Yes,
So, yeah.
absolutely. And it becomes important. But there is a particular scientific rule that speaks of the return into the blackness is the dominant, and the movement away from the blackness is the recessive.
Right.
J.A. Rogers, the great scholar, Joel Augustus Rogers,
Right.
in many of his books, he says that when you strip brown rice and black rice of its protein, it becomes white rice. When you strip a brown or black potato of its protein, it becomes a white potato.
Right.
When you strip brown and sugar of its protein, it becomes white sugar. And then he continues, when you strip a black human of its protein, it becomes a white human.
Wow.
And not just skin color, because that's another important thing. In my research with melanin, you have eumelanin. The skin happens to be the largest organ on the human body.
Right.
But you got melanin in your liver, you got melanin in your kidneys. Without it in your circulatory system, your blood wouldn't circulate. Without it in your skeletal system, your bones wouldn't be strong. Without it in your respiratory system, your lungs couldn't breathe. Without it in your brain, neuromelanin, you wouldn't be able to think. Without it in your reproductive system, you could not reproduce. So skin is only one aspect of where we find melanin. It just happens to be the largest organ in the body, and it is the first to receive the direct light, heat, and sound energy of the sun.
Right.
Which starts the production of vitamin D3. So that when you look at the early human beings, the Cro-Magnon, the evidence that the original Europeans and Asians were Africans, is the fact that on the top layer, you had who we call Cro-Magnon. Now, Cro-Magnon is not the European that we're dealing with today.
Oh, for sure.
The Cro-Magnon was a mixture of the African and the Indo-European sort of kind of speaking, the depigmented African.
Right.
And so the European and Asian that we're dealing with today is not a mutation of the African. It is the mutation of the mutation.
Right. Of the African. Correct.
Because they have found that still in many Europeans, if not all Europeans, they still have evidence of Homo sapiens.
Right.
Who is Neanderthal.
Right. The Neanderthal gene.
Because by the time the Homo sapiens got into Europe, there were still Homo sapiens that were alive.
Right.
And they mated with each other.
Right.
In Africa, you didn't have that. Homo sapiens evolved into Homo sapiens sapiens.
Right.
In Europe, there were Homo sapiens still in Europe that when the Homo sapiens sapien African got into Europe, they mated with the Homo sapiens. And that is why they still have Neanderthal blood.
Okay.
And so what we're talking about here as it relates to 20,000 years ago during this particular age, you have the Grimaldi, that the appearance of the Cro-Magnon, who are the first Europeans, in the middle of France during the last glaciation named the Worm 2 glaciation. This mutation was a people separated from the original human being on both the physical and cultural level. The Indo-European world was born out of the cultural mixing of Grimaldi Africans with Cro-Magnon mutations in Western Asia. At the end of the Mesolithic period, around 8000 BC, Africans moved north from Kenya to Tunisia and as far as east as Kemet and beyond to Canaan, or what we call Palestine and Israel. This is the people that we're dealing with, the original people of the land.
Right.
About 8,000 years BC, about 10,000 years ago, Africans moved north from Kenya to Tunisia and as far as east Kemet and beyond to Canaan, or what we call Palestine or Israel. The Semitic world was born in proto-historic times, not of a biological mutation, but of a crossbreed issue. From the confluence of blacks and whites in Western Asia, the human type associated with the technological industry in Canaan is the Natufian people, Natufian, the Natufian people who are African. Natufians are the distant ancestors of the Canaanites. The Natufians were first there 10,000 years ago, and through movements and migrations, they now are going to become who we are going to call the Canaanites.
Okay.
African people were the first to occupy this area. The Philistines, who are the ancestors of the Palestinians, arrived in Canaan about the 12th century BC. The Philistines are the ancestors of the Palestinians, and the Palestinians or the Philistines are the ones that went to war with the original African people.
Let's get into it.
And that is why even to this day, you'll see black people in Israel. You'll see black people in Gaza.
Yes.
You'll see black Palestinians. Through this migration that's going to come up through Africa about 10,000 years ago into this area that we today call Israel, but the day before that it was called Palestine, but before that it was called Canaan. And before it was Canaan, it was African people known as the Natufians who had developed the first civilizations in this particular area.
How do you spell Natufians, please?
Natufian, Natufian.
Okay, Natufians.
And if I can just take another quote, and then we can stop for a moment.
Okay.
In the 12th century BC, the Philistines attacked the coast of the land of Canaan. Ramses II destroyed their fleet, capturing all the people and converting them to agriculture. Incidentally, Dr. Diop notes through Dr. Amen, Palestine owes its name to the Palestio, Palestiu, which is what the Egyptians call the Philistines in their texts. These white tribes established themselves with the indigenous black Canaanites, producing the northern Semitic branch. The ancient Semites were much darker than certain Semites of today, which means mixture, Semite.
Right.
It is revealed on the figurines and drawings from this epoch. Dr. Diop continued by linguistically connecting the African language to the creation of Indo-European culture. He says the Semitic language is grounded and founded in the language of African people. Semitism is the result of the intermixing of the original African world and the Indo-European world in Western Asia. In fact, the Ethiopians, Sudanese, the Copts, and the present-day Egyptians exhibit different developmental stages of the Semitic people. The evidence can be found anthropologically, physically, and culturally from one primary African nation state. It has happened frequently in the past. An original African nation is progressively impacted by a non-melanated people, the land of Canaan, southern Arabia, etc. A new cultural complex, linguistic and anthropological people, loosely called Semitic, semi meaning mixture, we can better understand now why certain roots are common to the African languages and to the Semitic languages without being due to borrowing the former from the latter, because the base expression is African. So when we want to know who these people are in this world right now, we can understand through the history that Dr. Diop gives us, through the brilliant Dr. Rikedi Amen translating his work, is showing us the anthropological, linguistically, and cultural connections of the original people of this area coming up out of Africa, settling in this area, developing themselves, becoming who we call Canaan, or the Canaanites. Then comes the Palestu, who the Kemites named, and they come down and they defeat the original African people, settle in this land. It's called Palestine. And then by 1947, 48, you have the Balfour Conference that now is going to give this land to Europeans who are leaving Europe to come to the land that they consider to be their holy land. This is history. This ain't personal. There's another book, brother, that I'd like to share with you that's really phenomenal. Brilliant brother. I mean, his name is Joseph Ben Yik. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Dr. Ben. A. Joseph Ben Levy, brilliant scholar out of Chicago. In this book, it's called Kemet and the African Worldview.
Okay. Kemet and African Worldview. Okay.
And it's edited by Dr. Maulana Karenga and Dr. Jacob Carruthers, two great scholars. And what I would like to just read from you is to understand what's happening during, we're going to jump forward now into the 6th dynasty, when you have internal warfare going on amongst Black folk. And you're going to see these intermixed people who are in what we today call Canaan. They're looking down into this land, and they take advantage of the infighting, and they start to cross over the border. Do you know in the news today where you hear about the fact that they're trying to open up a passageway between Egypt and Israel?
Right. And that's the border that they're bombing. Is it Rafah?
Well, they're trying to bring food across. They're trying to bring medicine across. But at the same time, there are Palestinians who are trying to get into Egypt away from the warfare in Israel. Okay,
trying to migrate into Egypt through the border.
Exactly. Now, that's exactly the path where these Indo-Europeans are going to come.
Okay,
it's the same pathway.
That same exact pathway.
Okay. See, when we understand history and geography, family, all this other nonsense goes out the window.
Then we're able to see the movie for a loop rather than something that's just happening. We like, oh no, that happened again. That it's happening again. It's history repeating itself.
It's the same exact thing. Now these individuals coming. Now, this is what Dr. Joseph Ben Levy is telling us about this particular area. Okay. And I'll just read a paragraph of the book. The book should be in our library, period, for all the other great scholars that are here.
Right.
The words Apiru, A-P-I-R-U, and Habiru, H-A-B-I-R-U, weren't originally terms which identified any particular nation or race. They represented a confluence of nationalities of both African and Aryan, with the Aryans having a tendency to dominate at certain periods. At no time is there any indication from these texts that the Habiru and Apiru and Hebrews are one and the same term linguistically. For the sake of clarity, I would like to illuminate the discussion based on my knowledge of the so-called Hebrew language. The term Hebrew is supposed to have derived from the mythical name Eber, E-B-E-R, one of the sons of Shem, in Genesis 10:21. The so-called father of the Shemitic peoples. But in reality, Hebrew comes from a three-letter root, IBR, in the ancient Canaanite language. It is a verb which means to pass or to cross over, as in pass by a window or cross a street, and synonymous phrases. The term Hebrew, Hebrew, is a Greco-Roman misrepresentation. The Old Testament first records this word in Genesis 14:13 as a slang term used by the ancient Black Canaanites of Palestine to identify Abraham, calling him Ha-Ibri, H-I-ibri, or the one who crossed over. Think of the crossing over now.
Right.
Okay, this is what's happening back then under different circumstances. That is the one who crossed over the Euphrates River to journey in the land of the Canaanites or Canaan. At no time in the Old Testament literature does it mean anything else. That is the reading for tonight, family. And I wanted to read in particular because, you know, a lot of times I'm extemporaneous, like the first hour and something, we was just kicking it, going back and forth.
Yeah, you know.
But
you know how it goes in the barbershop? Huh?
There are times that we have to get very specific. There are
Definitely.
times that we need to read documents so that we can understand what it is that we're talking about when we're experiencing what's happening in the world that we're in today.
Most
It
certainly.
becomes so important to me, family, in education and in history and in geography, to understand. You know, Mark Twain said that history doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme. You know, one of the attributes of Ma'at, we have truth, justice, balance, harmony, order, arrangement. But reciprocity is my favorite one.
Right.
What goes around comes around. You shall reap what you sow.
So,
may I say this and mean it from every part of my being. I pray and invoke prayers to all of the innocent human beings who are going through the trials and tribulations in the world. But until we as a human family, once and for all, cut this bullshit out.
That's right.
And do what's necessary for our children yet to be born. What will our children say about us? When they do libations 80 years, 100 years from now, what will they say we did? Did we just let it all play games? Did we all just get along to go along? Or did we stand up for something that we believed in? And that's my message to us now, family. And to all those who are online here, I ask you, support the scholars.
Important.
It's very important to support the work that the scholars are doing. Because what is happening on Nodal Ledge is to bring information to you so you can begin to make your own mind up and decisions for what it is that you're going to do. The red pill or the blue pill. Where are you going with your life?
Which way?
Don't you know you're a genius? You were born to be a genius. You were born with a plan. And do you realize that You were born, and billions of people were not born for you to be born.
That's right.
Do you know how many billions of spermatozoa are out there that never were able to fertilize the billions of eggs? But your daddy's sperm and your mommy's egg conceived you.
It agreed, right? Made that contract.
There's a purpose behind this. And if I can just say it like this to understand ancestors. If I were to take you back 500 years, basically, if I were to take you back 20 generations, saying that every generation is 25 years, every 25 years, a new generation is born. Some people say 20, some people say 30. I say, let's get in the middle and do 25. Each and every one of us has 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents. Okay? In math, let's get mathematical about this to understand who our ancestors are. If I took you back to the year 1523, looking at what I call e to the 3, the exponential expansion equation, e to the 3, e to the 3rd power, exponential expansion equation. 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents. If I took you back 20 generations to the year 1523, the next time you want to know how many ancestors you have, let me give you how many human beings it took to bring you into existence. 1,048,576 human beings came into existence to bring you into existence since 1523, 500 years ago. 20 generations. You have within you 1,048,576 human beings existed. 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, go back 20 generations. Let me drop the other shoe and then I'm going to back up. I only took you back 500 years. How many ancestors do you think you have if I took you back 5 million years? So the next time you think you're alone, think of how many people came into existence with a story and a history and a divine purpose that dwell within you. Own your greatness.
Wow. Wow. Can you say that number again real quick? Sorry.
1 million.
1 million.
Well, let me give you the figures. 1, 048, 576.
Okay.
1,048,576. E to the 3.
E to the motherfucking 3.
Exponential, the exponent, 2 parents,
Right.
4 grandparents, exponential expansion equation. It's science, it's not personal.
Right.
With
It ain't personal.
vibration, you ain't calling ancestors from the outside in. You're calling ancestors from the inside to come out and share their presence in that room.
It's a lot of them.
There's a whole bunch of them. And I only took you back 5 million. Suppose I took you back 5 million years. If 500 years, and every year, every generation creates many, many, many more millions by geometric progression. Come on, family.
So
Greatness.
man's DNA is timeless, correct?
That is it.
Like they can't put an age on my blood or my DNA. So theoretically speaking, if man's been here for a million or a billion years, that's in my DNA. Those bloodlines, like you said, not it goes like you said, at 15 in the year 1500, we up to 1,000,000 plus. But with my DNA being infinite, that's why they say the blood is sacred.
Yeah.
And that's why they say the seed is sacred. The seed is sacred as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And when you stop and think about it, again, going back to my book, Spirituality Before Religions, we are part of the mammalian family.
Okay.
Okay. But before we were mammals, mammals came out of reptiles.
Right.
Before we were reptiles, we were amphibians.
Right. No more.
Before amphibians, we were fish. Before fish, we were plant. Before plant, we were bacteria.
Right.
And before bacteria, we were cosmic spirits looking for a home.
That's right.
And we found it. And we built wonderful things.
That
We
we
built
did.
civilizations of super sapiens. Things that we can't even conceive of in our minds today. Because we are so purposefully underdeveloped that when they tell us that when you listen to those voices, you're going crazy, not realizing those voices are telling you there are other places and spaces that you need to be and other times that you need to be. You need to walk in the light.
Yes.
You know, you have to understand the time-space continuum. You have always been, you are, and you will always be. From before the beginning began to after forever. From pre-womb to post-tomb.
Post-tomb. Beautiful.
You've been here. That's science. You cannot destroy, you cannot destroy or create energy. You can only transform it into another level. There's no such thing as death. Death is but another doorway to the eternal temple of immortality. It's who we are. Own your
Indeed.
greatness.
That's a divine message. And I hope it resonates with the right people in the right time. Because if there wasn't a time that y'all needed to hear this, this is that time. Own your greatness. Because it is yours for the keeping and it is yours for the owning. Speaking of greatness and speaking of being able to own it, there's an event coming up that you will be a part of this strong in. And I want you to briefly speak on that for anybody in the area of the tri-states, okay? Or if anybody is ready to fly into New York City this strong in, people people move around. What's going on in Brooklyn, Baba?
Family, this Saturday from 6 to 9, we'll be at Nicholas. Our sister Kafunya Ife invited me to come speak at the Nicholas bookstore.
Yes.
And we are going to talk about the cosmic realities as it relates to spirituality. And we're going to talk about Shabaka's stone, which is a rewritten version of our ancestors and how they perceived the universe coming into being. I first was introduced to this book by reading a phenomenal book, Stolen Legacy. Page 139 to 151, it blew my mind. And I promised myself one day I would write a book. 1977, I read a Xerox copy. This was before it was being republished. And I said I would have to write a book one day to just talk about the magnificence of this story that our ancestors told. Growing up Roman Catholic in the projects in Midtown Manhattan, I saw before my eyes as I was reading Stolen Legacy, a story of every answer that I would ever need in life. This book will tell you how to arrive at the proper answer for you, because your answer may not be my answer. And what they did is they told a cosmic story in such a way that it opened the world to understand that spirituality is unseen science and science is seen spirituality. And it helped me understand certain things that I wanted to share. And when I spoke to Sister Kafunya, she explained to me that she wanted to tell this story and she wanted to have a dialogue with the community. And I know my brother Hunk is going to be there. I call him Hunk as a H and a Unk. And I know that my brother Lloyd Strayhorn, the numerologist, is going to be there.
The heavy hitters.
And we are going to have a wonderful time. And Sister Kafunya
Yes.
is going to work her magic with sound.
Bringing that bowl through,
Bringing the bowl through.
Bringing the bowl through.
It's time, family.
And Sister Monique, she's gonna set the table,
That's right. Sister Monique, the owner of Nicholas.
Yes, indeed.
I'm looking forward to it. I go back with the family many years when they were down on 17th Street in Broadway.
Remember that? In the village?
Used to have flags from all around the Caribbean, all over Africa. I bought a Marcus Garvey tie. I even bought driving gloves, the red, the gold,
the green. That's right. They had it right across from Paragon. They had it popping. Right. I remember that. I used to buy patches from them.
There we go. That's it.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time there.
Beautiful.
And it's just the dad I work with, and I remember Monique and her brother, younger brother, young people at the time.
Grew up. They grew up through the business.
That's it.
Family business. I remember, and that's just that is a beautiful example of what we used to see a lot of mom and pop businesses where they would pass on the store and the business and the entity to their children, and then their children would pass it on to their children through the family. And that's something that we need to multiply by about 100 or 1,000.
Yeah.
Same way that we have these ancestors multiplying through our bloodlines and whatnot. So that's something that we need to see more of.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, I'm just so happy to be a part of this event on Saturday.
Yes.
From 6 to 9. There's so much that we have to share, so much that we have to talk about. Once we get to that point, once we get to the point where we understand what it is that we have to do, we're looking at 1396 Fulton Street in Brooklyn.
Yes, sir.
1396 Fulton Street. We're going to have a phenomenal time on Saturday.
Yes, you are. New York, if you're listening. Brooklyn, if you're listening. Harlem, if you're listening, because y'all was in the roll call. They inbox me every other week and ask me about events in New York City. So this is your time to not only come and see the legend, but also to be amongst the family, because this is time for gathering. This is the time for community. This is the time for the physical link up, not the stuff through the phone, because the type of energy that we collectively need right now, we need each other in the flesh. We don't need to be looking at each other through the screen and whatnot. That this is not that time we on right now. We need to look at each other in their eyes. We need to be able to press flesh on flesh. So, you know, I'm gonna just leave it at that. Make sure y'all pull up to Nicholas, and make sure y'all come to support, and definitely make sure you are in the building and you don't miss this. You know what I mean?
And you know, Brother Pill,
yes.
Years ago, I attended an event. I was invited to participate in Atlanta in a conference that was called the Gathering of the Masters.
Yes.
And it was Phil Valentine, it was Jewel Pookrum, Neely Fuller was there, Sobon Fusome was there, Delbert Blair was there, Bobby Hemmett was there. I could go through the list of all of the people that were there.
That was a legendary.
Gathering of the Masters. But you want to know something, brother?
Yes.
The real objective of that meeting was the speakers that came were scholars in their own right. But the gathering of the masters was the people that came.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would like to say that this Saturday, 1396 Fulton Street, there's going to be a gathering of the masters. And it's not just the people who are coming to speak, but you.
That's right.
You are a master of your own fate, the captain of your destiny.
That's right.
You are a creator having a human experience, and it is time for you to take your rightful place. But it's up to you to do this. And I ask you to support the vendors, support the people. Because while it may be true that money is the root of all evil, it's also true that money is the root of our emancipation and liberation.
That's a fact.
It's not what it is that's good or bad. It's what you do with it.
That's a super fact.
Support your scholars. Support your vendors. And make sure that they can continue their great work. And yes, I do realize we do have some pimpasters out there.
Pimpasters.
I realize there are people who are hustling us for our money. I understand. But it is up to each and every one of us to show our authenticity to the community.
That's right.
To show that we have been doing this consistently over the years. Be it Nicholas Bookstore, be it Know the Ledge, whether it's Lloyd Strayhorn, Brother Hunk, and all others who will be there. Come prepared to support the community, because it is that community that keeps Nicholas's doors open, that allows Kafunya to invite those who will be coming to this event. Stay strong. Know your greatness. Assume your position and recognize the gift that the cosmos gave you to fulfill and to share with Gaia, the living earth.
I love it.
I'll have my book Shabaka Stone with me if you're interested. I'll have other books with me also.
Beautiful, beautiful.
It's time, family.
It is definitely time.
It's time.
Question. Could we take a few questions from the audience real quick?
Sure.
We're gonna take a quick commercial break and let folks go ahead and use the bathroom, get some water, stretch, and then we're gonna come back with about 2 or 3 or 4 questions. Is that cool?
Cool with me.
All right, beautiful. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get a word from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Healthy so you can get wealthy with True Health Love. We got everything that you need in terms of getting your body right for the fall, for the summer, just everyday wellness. We got herbal products, we got Sabi inspired meal preps, we got juice preps, and we also have our soul food takeout spot in Southern California. That's right, alkaline soul food in Southern California. Come on down. It's nutritious and delicious. Get healthy so you can get wealthy. TrueHealthLove.com. Peace.
All right. So yes, I'm going to get to the questions. I have my first question that I want to ask is from Blue Pillar. All right, shout out to Blue Pillar in the building. Blue Pill wants to know, is the idea of Hammurabi Code the equivalent of justice in this modern day era?
I would say yes. The Hammurabi codes. I would
Yes.
say also the book that's titled the Kybalion. The book that's called the
The
Pyman.
Kybalion.
Huh?
You said the Kybalion,
Yeah,
correct?
Kybalion, Kybalion. And there's another book that is almost a mirror to that, which is called the Pymander, Pymander, which is another book. The Pymander.
Pymander. Okay.
And of course, the books of Tehuti, which become very important also.
Okay.
It's all knowledge and wisdom that's set out. And also, if you really would like an interesting book that comes to us at this point in time, Ancient Future is
Wayne
really,
Chandler.
yeah, by
Yes.
by Professor Wayne Chandler. That's a very good book to decipher.
Yes, it is.
And
Beautiful,
so,
beautiful.
for me, I just think that all of this information is all writing for all time. On a personal level, I think that many of these books are universal in nature. They could have been picked up 20,000 years ago, and they can be picked up 20,000 years from now, and they will carry the same message.
Because the truth is timeless.
Truth knows truth.
It doesn't expire.
Yes. People say you speak truth to power. I don't think so. Truth is power. You speak truth to the lie.
Right. You speak truth to the lie. There you go. Whew.
And I saw somebody, the Emerald Tablets of Tehuti. Thank you, Mackinson. Emerald Tablets is another good book to read.
Yes.
And somebody asked if I have a Cash App, and yes, I do. Kaba KAMENE 7. KABA KAMENE 7.
All right.
I thank you so much for any support that we have, because it goes into the work that we're doing.
Yes. Show some love, y'all. Y'all know what it is. I don't even have to say it.
My website,
Um,
KabaKAMENE.com. I have numbers of things up there for the community to be able to look at. Webinars, which are quick webinars dealing with teaching methodologies, how to teach our children. Webinars. There's a lot of information out there. A lot of scholars doing a lot of great work, family. Check them out.
Yeah.
Support them because they support us.
They definitely do. Could somebody drop that in the chat? Do I have any mods that are out there working with us? We got a special guest in the building, you know, and I want to bring her on the stage and whatnot. We have a special guest in the building. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the line for our special guest, none other than our sister, Kafunya Star Rebel up in this
All
thing.
right.
Hey.
Booyaka, booyaka.
Oh man,
Booyaka.
I am really, I got tears of joy in my heart. My heart is filled with what was dropped this evening. It's like the food for my mind, my body, and my spirit. And I really, really give thanks, first and foremost, to everyone that showed up. It got like about 800 plus in the building. I keep saying hit that LIGHT button, the light button.
That's
and
right.
and I really, really give thanks for Professor Brother Kaba, for hearing to the clarion call, because I really, really think it's so important that we get the ear of our youth. And sometimes when we have events, the whole family wants to come out, but sometimes, it's not possible. So I feel it's very, very important that we have these type of reasonings for the youth to come out to receive what they have not received in the educational system, as well as the adults to hear the foundation where everything evolved from. They used to call me the black sheep of the family because, what's going on here? They send us to school. We got to get a job, get an education.
You spoke truth to the lies.
Yes, and they never say, hey, let's get an education and let me start my own business. Let me do a trade or do something like that. And the unveiling, as some of my words, continues. The unveiling continues, and like our beloved brother here is part of our spiritual legacies. Spiritual legacies, because what is in darkness must come to the light, or what is non-physical must become physical once the energy is put forth there. And I'm just super excited to have the whole crew, Unk Rising Sun, Lloyd Strayhorn, myself bringing those frequency bowls so we can be in a position to, accept what's being, the channels, opening up the channels so we can understand what is being brought forth in this time. And of course, we got to have the power of the drum there. So Brother Raphael will be there representing the heartbeat. So I just want to thank you, Brother Red. And I know y'all going to be coming soon too. I'm not going to drop the information yet, but they're going to be in the BK soon. You know what I mean? Being part of the spiritual legacy, being part of the word sound power, being a part of thoughts create reality.
That's right.
And so I am thankful. And I'm just, boy, I'm going to listen to this again, Brother Kaba, because it's like, whoo, my heart is like, yeah, man, let's bring it on, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. The time is now. And I thank you for allowing me to use my voice and the energy, to make it happen. And with my co-host, uh, Monique, we came together and said, we got to do this, man. We have to do it. And especially for the youth. This is for the youth as well as the adult children, because
Give them the good
as
news.
far as, huh?
Give them the good news about the youth pulling up on Saturday. How the free entry.
Yeah, it's free for the youth, from the babies who are suckling on the breast to the junior high schoolers to the high schoolers, from babe to 17 years young. We might even
Beautiful.
stretch it to 18, but it's definitely for the youth to participate, and the family doesn't have to worry about, oh, I got to buy a ticket for them. No, this is our
Beautiful.
gift to the community, both near and far. We may be doing a little bit of IG filming and everything like that, so people could perhaps get a piece of it. But if you can get there, come. And the
No
tickets are available on Eventbrite. Uh, that's all I have to say. Give thanks to everyone. Thank you so much.
Drop the link in the chat when you get a chance, Kafunya, so they could click on it, because how some people they need to see the link and it'll go right there.
Monique, if she's listening to
Oh,
me, she
Monique,
could
yes,
drop that link in there. She
I see
she
in the
got
chat.
that.
Monique,
Yeah,
drop that
she's
in
in the
there
chat.
so we could get to it.
Yes,
I
I
appreciate
and
you. Keep burning
yes,
the
I
fire, and please, I
hot
love the
fire.
position. Yes, and I really appreciate the position that you put yourself in for the home, for the Empire State. We all from the town and whatnot, and
Whoa, whoa,
we
whoa,
have
whoa.
we have yeah, it's in the city is in our heart. New York City, what it did for me and what it did for my family and what it's done for millions of people everywhere that I go around the world. I get stopped for the work that I've done in New York City specifically, not for New York City, but the work I was doing in the city and the world got to
Yes,
see it.
I.
That's
Yes,
what
I.
that's what they know me for, and that's what they know each one of us for. And
That's right.
anything that we can do to keep
The
it,
Four Corners
yeah,
newspaper,
yeah,
SOBs, me and King Simon,
yeah,
working
man.
on the cultural shows and everything. Midnight from out of St. Croix, bringing their music forward. And, me dealing with the crystals, the essential oils, and the sound and the poetry as well. So I just give thanks for recognizing, like Brother Kaba said, a lot of us feel that we're not worthy. And we were under that spell for a minute, but once the lights came on, it was all
Yes,
good. It was
it
all
was
good.
on
So
and
thank you
popping.
so
Right.
much. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Indeed, Sister Kafunya. Love and light. I've been playing a lot of midnight lately too. I appreciate you for that too. It's like midnight
Yes, I
Capleton
give
Luciano
thanks.
roots and culture reggae season these days with all of the Babylonian things going on. And that brings me to my next
Shenanigans.
question, Kaba.
With all the shenanigans going on. Yes, I.
That brings me to the next question, Kaba,
Yes,
in
I.
terms of history and what we're seeing going on, and is it real right now? I was a big fan of dancehall reggae coming up, roots and culture, and they would invoke the name of Selassie I a lot, and they would bring up Solomon, King Solomon, and they would bring up Babylon always falling and whatnot.
I could get
Um, Based off of the historical context that you delivered tonight, is that Babylon that they're speaking of? Is that Babylon that the Rastafarians, put judgment on? Is that Babylon Rome, or is that Babylon the quote unquote anti the synagogue of Satan?
You know, when I've looked back in time, just in my life, and I was introduced to Bob Marley 1975,
Yes.
Natty Dread,
Nazi Dread.
and No Woman No Cry, Natty Dread. You know, um, just a very powerful album.
Yes, yes.
And I also was exposed to other information.
Mm.
And one of the things that I think that I tend to do, is while there may be places on the planet where there is unrest and war, Bob Marley has a song called War.
That's
War, yeah.
right.
It's a speech that his
His
Royal
Majesty, Haile Selassie,
Haile Selassie gave,
Right.
War up
to the
north.
UN.
The UN. Right.
Okay. I see Babylon as a state of mind.
Absolutely, it is.
And while
Real
it
talk.
manifests itself in various places on the earth geographically, if you get caught up in pointing at places, you lose the most important thing. And that is that Babylon is a state of mind.
I love it.
And that each and every one of us is born with a Judas and a Messiah. The Judas is born within us to ensure that we do not meet our divine destiny.
That's the saboteur, right? That's the self-sabotage.
That is the Satan.
That's
The
the
Messiah
Satan.
is born to make sure that Judas fails.
Right.
Judas will fall down 9 times, but the Messiah will rise 10.
Ooh.
And
Say
if
that again.
the Judas falls down 9 times, but the Messiah rises 10. In other words, what I've often told the children that I teach, my own biological children, people that I come in contact with, you don't lose when you don't win. You lose
Right.
when you don't try.
That's right.
Winners never lose.
Right.
Winners ever win. Winners either win or they learn.
Or they learn that
How to
L is
do
for
it
the
next
lesson. That's right.
With my children growing up, my biological children, even children that I taught, something would happen. And I would always say, what did you learn? Because in life, every experience is a lesson, be it great experience or not too great an experience.
That's right.
I have learned that some of my greatest strengths have come from my most profound weaknesses
That's
that I've been able to overcome. Some of my greatest strengths come from my greatest weaknesses that I've learned how to overcome.
Ashe.
So I never curse. This is why in Kush Kemet they had the symbol of the dung beetle. The dung beetle is a beetle that eats dung, particularly the cow dung. Eats cow dung.
Right.
There we go. Kepra, the dung beetle. And it eats dung. It lays its eggs in dung, and the baby beetles come forward eating through the dung. Which reminds me of the concept that a lot of times in life we curse the wind that blew misfortune to us. But it was Dr. King that taught us that your character is built during times of conflict and controversy.
That's
not
right.
during times of comfort and convenience.
That Bob Marley says the same thing. You never know how strong the tea is until you never know that strength. Right.
Yes. And so instead of cursing the wind that brings misfortune, bless it, because it gave you a chance to perfect your character. And as a people, this is what we did. We built from that. And so Babylon is a state of mind. Babylon is the place where Judas resides.
I love it. That's where Judas lives.
That's where he thrives.
Fire burn. That's where he
And
thrives.
throughout life, Judas tries to pull you in.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when we get down there, we bask in that. We wallow in the land of Babylon.
Like a pig in the mud, right?
That's the pig's nature.
All right now.
Boss. Like I said, they can't stop you after 10 p.m. Kaba.
Oh, I'm telling you, the night
you.
owls.
There's no right.
We're getting close to 2 o'clock in the morning, bro.
Wow.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm gonna get one more in from the audience. I want somebody from the audience to give me a nice loaded question for our good Baba, you know what I mean, to put a cap on this capstone. I did have a question about the subterranean themes that keep popping up when we're talking about just a lot of things over the course of the months. First, it was the Titan going underneath the leagues of the sea and whatnot, going to the Titanic, right? Then we were introduced to this whole thing about the earthquakes, you know, major earthquakes and whatnot. The last one we see in Morocco, and then of course in Afghanistan. The earthquake happened in the same day as the invasion or the beginning of this war, the the Alaska flood is what they called it on October 7th. There's an earthquake in Afghanistan that kills more people than the conflict over there, right down the block, but nobody even talks about it, right? Then there was talk about the Hawaii thing with Maui and the underground city, or just something dealing with the children being taken underground, the bases that are out, there's a lot of talk about subterranean underworld entities. And then the thing with Mexico, when they said that they brought forth the aliens, our good brother Ross Ben, he broke that down, and he explained that those are inner world beings. That wasn't extraterrestrials. Those were more subterranean aliens and whatnot. Now, going into this situation, this one has the most themes of underworld, underground, subterraneans, because there's an underground network that Hamas is running through. There are underground tunnels going underneath Israel or Canaan and whatnot. There's this whole thing about the Temple Mount with the city of wells. I mean, the spirit, the well of spirits, everything that's going on. Remember, they're saying underneath the mount is where King Solomon is buried. And this, when they go into, when they invade the Gaza Strip, it's going to be a above ground, but also an underground war that's going to be taking place. And then homie from Iran warned them that they're about to get, he told Israel that you're going to get hit with an earthquake if you keep fucking around. So I just want to know, in terms of the research that you have and whatnot, is there any themes about the underworld that stand out to you when it comes to, over there, Israel, Tel Aviv, the Gaza Strip and Egypt and all of these other places?
My perception is that prophets are not psychics.
Yes.
They're just good historians.
Yes.
Because when you know what happened in the past, you can interpret what's happening in the present and predict what's about to happen in the future.
That's right.
Indo-Europeans have never been able to maintain a civilization more than 500 years. Going back to the Persians, the Iranians, 525, by 332, the Greeks were in. The Greeks were from 332 basically to about 30 BC when the Romans came in. The Romans existed between 30 BC and 426 AD, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
And then Europe was plunged into what's called the Dark Ages.
Dark Ages, right.
And it wasn't until Africans came in 7-11 and saved them from themselves.
Right.
By 1492, Europeans had gotten a sense of certain concepts and decided to overthrow and bite the hand that fed them.
Right.
So from 1492 to just about right now, we've been dealing with what I call the Omen Empire. And what has happened to me is very natural. If we were to consider getting online in anger for what they've done to us, we're probably number 7. Because the first entity that should be most pissed off at Indo-European men is Indo-European women.
Right.
Nobody has been more mistreated by them than their women.
Mm.
They were the ones they practiced their brutality on before they came out into the world.
Mm.
And then the earth, the water, the air, they have polluted everything they have touched.
Right.
Everything they touch dies.
Terra firma.
And so what I see happening is nature, Gaia, the living earth now, is saying, I think I've had enough.
Right.
It's time to purge.
Right. I feel
Real
it.
talk.
And I tell us now, I see some questions, they say, where should we stand in certain issues going on, wherever it is in the world? I tell black folk what Dr. Clark told us, we ain't got no friends. I say, mind your business.
Mm.
Because the day you start minding your business is the day you're going to find out how much business you have to mind.
Mm.
They ain't never tried to help us. No one ever tried to help us, but every time we get in trouble, they want us to help them.
Right.
And we, in our kindness, try to help them. I think one of the things as black folk is we don't know the difference between a friend, an ally, and an enemy. We ally ourselves with people in order to defeat a common enemy. And after the deed is done, the ally that we allied ourselves with becomes a bigger enemy than the one that we allied ourselves with them to overcome.
Damn.
We tend to hold on to allies as friends. Cut them loose. Look out for your people. I am black first. Simple.
Right.
I want to know what's good for my people. I understand that we need a worldview, which we should have. Some of the things we went over this evening talked about a worldview. I believe in a worldview. As black folk need a worldview. But after you understand where you are in time and space, then it's time to get back to business, which is to raise the babies.
That's right.
Look out for yourself. And stop looking out for everybody else, because that's part of the imposter syndrome too.
Mm.
You know, Malcolm told a story about the difference between the house Negro and the field Negro. And sometimes we think that their problem is our problem. And it's not.
Right.
Their problem is their problem. Our problem is they have a problem. Dr. Laila Africa talks about in one of the hidden colors how before the Indo-European came on the scene, there were skirmishes amongst the African folk, but the world wasn't at war.
Right.
We have been at war since they came out of the ice mountains. It's been one continuous war, one after another. And when it's not a hot war, it's a cold war. And we think the Civil War ended in 1865. No, we've been living a cold civil war since 1865.
Facts.
And let me give you some advice my mama told me, and I think I see Pay It Forward. Franklin said it. My mother used to say, pick your fights. Don't fall for every okie doke. And understand what is your war or your battle and what is somebody else's, and stop fighting other people's battles when you have your own battle to fight.
That's right.
And so to answer your question, I think nature has now just about had enough.
That's right.
And he have said, we're going to take a bath and we're going to wash this shit off
Right.
for good.
Mm.
And let those who follow the natural path get back on the path. So when I say keep on keeping on, it ain't over till we win. What I'm really saying more than anything else is that in 525, before Cambyses and the Persians came in, there were some super sapiens heading towards cosmic consciousness. And we were rudely interrupted by these barbarians that came amongst us.
Mm.
After we win, we're going to pick ourselves up and continue on where we were heading before we were so rudely interrupted.
Right.
It's time.
No
more. No more. I've had enough. Not on my watch. Not like this. My lane is education. But let me just drop this on you. Whatever you have don't mean a thing if you can't defend it.
Mm.
You can have everything in the world, but if you can't defend it, you're only holding it until someone stronger than you come along and snatch it from you.
Yep, the Debo theory. Can I share something with you that I see?
Please, bro.
And I'm not comfortable with it because I had succumbed to a false sense of security and an idea of freedom that I was shown is not freedom, because I'm taking it personal when I see another man controlling another man's light, gas, and water and their food supply. I mean, it would be if we were living in the old kingdom and they were holding cities under siege. That's basically what that is. That's a siege. But in my mind, I'm like, if I don't control my electricity, if I don't control my water, and if I don't control my food, how I'm getting it, they say whoever feeds you is your king. Whoever clothes you, whoever puts that heat in your house. So as a people, we've gotten so comfortable, so complacent, in the shadow of a king and a Malcolm X and whatnot. They didn't think that they were one with this government. They didn't think that they were Americans. They didn't think that it was over with, and they just left us. So if they didn't think that, if they wasn't talking like that, and everyone and others and our master teachers weren't talking like that, why is this generation, why are our people talking like we control our gas or our lights or our water when we don't? If somebody decided to put us under siege and starve us out and basically have us living candle to candle and whatnot, they could do the same thing. So just seeing that right there, it just has me saying, like, we have a lot. I mean, of course, as spiritual, as sentient beings having this quote unquote human experience, yeah, there's so many things that have to be done, but some of the basic things, like just controlling your utilities. Forget about the fact that we're paying for utilities. I'm talking about controlling it. That level of freedom, I believe, needs to be reached. And I'm not talking about living off the grid, hiding somewhere either. I'm talking about the aspect that once Mother Nature does what she has to do, and once people realize that it's doing that, because we're not supposed to even sit back and just, sip on sea moss and wait for it to happen. I feel that now that we can identify that she is waking up, that we wake up with her and begin to expedite and speed up this process or this quantum quickening, to whereas we say and we fulfill the word, the prophecies or the vision of what both Noble Drew Ali said and many others, that one day this European, who is an invader, foreign to this land, so he is an alien. This is not the same conversation that people are having about what these Ukrainians over there in quote unquote Canaan is. This is the same conversation that we should be having over here about these Germans, you know, these Irish, you know, these Brits and whatnot, people that are here that theoretically, you know, they broke a few treaties and whatnot, and we can prove that they invaded this thing right here. And we should have control of something simple as our resources and our water. You know? So I don't know how anybody could justify a conversation about we's free, or I don't, you know, I got this much money. I don't know about what those niggas over there are doing, you know, because that's a black conversation that our rappers and the actors and the athletes have to have. But I don't even know them for controlling their utilities. But yeah, I'll just land it there.
Solar power is the future wealth of the planet.
Okay.
Teach the children the power of the light, heat, and sound energy of the sun.
Yes.
There'll be no amount of air you can put at the end of your name that will talk of your wealth. No millionaire, no billionaire.
Right.
Teach the children solar power. This is what our ancestors did. Everything is fueled by our sun, our star. And when you can do that, you control your energy. Even if you can create a solar panel in an attaché case.
That's right. As
In
you move.
and just go outside during the day and put that open up that attaché case.
Right. And just let it be, let it collect, let it absorb. The
That
same way
is-
that your melanin is absorbing it.
That is it. It's the same concept.
Right.
Because what makes a solar panel draw heat and light is it's black.
Right. And it's absorbing all.
That's what it is. The light, the heat, and the sound energy. It's there.
Right. Breaking it down.
And power is the ability to define someone's reality and have that person accept that definition as if it were their own.
That's right.
And if I can just give you another definition of power, I just want to ask you, if all of your ShopRites and supermarkets and Piggly Wiggly's closed, your restaurants where you get your food closed, could you eat tonight? If your answer is yes, if you could go in your backyard and pull out some cucumber, tomato, vegetables, and fruits, you have power.
That's right.
But you could have all the millions of dollars on Wall Street. But if you don't have a source of the ability to eat, you're lost and you have no power.
If that ain't the truth.
We have to start thinking like this. And we have to start speaking to our children like this, to have them begin to think about land and respecting land.
Yeah.
Not owning land, but living
respecting
with
it.
land.
Right.
And the money that I put down is only so that I can respect it, not own it.
I was on a farm this strong and, you know, humongous, big. And I was blown away by how much the land was being utilized for many different things. They sectioned off of a portion of the land. They put children, they put a jumping thing on there. They put slides that they built from the land. And everybody was paying $20 to, you know, to be there. It was for the children. But I'm like, that little, you know what I mean? Like just that. And then right over there, they had the farmland. They had the homestead set up where it was just strawberries were budding. They had mango, you know, all of this stuff growing. And I just said to myself, you know, we take a lot of things for granted. Oh, yeah. But I'm in class. The universe is teaching me right now. So I'm learning from what I'm seeing going on around the world, not personalizing it, but But I'm saying, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Now that would suck if I were ever to go through something like that. And my mind is saying, well, we now need to work out a plan so this will never, ever occur in your reality.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, that's a nightmare. Whereas you can't eat or you can't feed your little ones if they hungry and whatnot. And like you said, nature, right? We got to get back to nature, because when nature provides everything that they're showing you that man could take away in a, like this. Because remember, they live right next to the sea.
Yeah.
They're in the Mediterranean.
Mm-hmm.
So technology could basically turn salt water into drinkable water.
Mm-hmm.
Or there should be a way to, whereas if you're by the water and they turn the water off, you like, yo, I'm in nature, fam.
Mm-hmm.
You can't stop that. You can't tell me I can't eat. There's no more food in the stores, fam. I'm living on farmland. Like I'm in Atlanta. This is a forest. How dare somebody tell anyone that they couldn't eat out here?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. It's time.
There's water in the air. The Africans, they have the machines where they trap water and create, filling up whole gallons of water right out the air.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's energy, there's free energy as long as the sun rises.
Yeah.
So even if there's no quote unquote electricity at night, like you said, it's solar power.
That's it.
If you could capture it, then and there's 1,000 or there's 2 million people in that city, then that whole city could be lit up at night. Absolutely. If they knew what they were doing. Absolutely. Yeah. So we got to get on. We got to step into the future, or the now for that matter. We don't, like you said, we don't even have to go ahead of ourselves. In the now is where the solutions lie. We don't have to wait for solutions or it'll be here one day. No, based off of the research that I'm doing, everything that you asked for is here. It has already manifested. It's in a warehouse or somewhere waiting for you to find it. But everything that we need is here.
Absolutely. And our ancestors were able to get it. The evidence of it is here. They had tapped into solar power. Right. They already did this.
They already did.
Doing is going back and picking up where they left off.
That's right.
It's already here, family. We don't have to invent nothing. It's already done. The principles of solar power is already here. You, each and every one of us, are solar batteries. We're star power. We are not earthlings. We're starlings. We are bits and pieces of the sun encased in nitrogen, in matter. All we got to do is understand who we are as a people. It's here. It's already done. Our ancestors already did it. They got the blueprint out. All we got to do is pick it up, read it, and understand what we're reading, because that is why they purposefully underdeveloped us, so we would not see. You know, there's a brother named Listerville Middleton. He wrote a phenomenal poem on the origins of things. And he said, sharpen your eye and tune your ear so you know what you see and understand what you hear. He said, minute by minute, hour by hour, as you lose your history, you lose your power. So sharpen your eye and tune your ear so you know what you see and understand what you hear. And Bob Marley wrote a song, Natural Mystic in the Air.
Yeah.
If you listen carefully, you will hear.
Yeah.
Could be the last trumpet, could be the first trumpet, might as well be the last. Don't ask me why. There's a natural mystic in the air. It's around us always. It's here.
It is. I feel it.
It's amongst us.
It is definitely amongst us. That is no lie.
With your third eye, you can hear it with your third ear. You can smell it with your third nostril. You can taste it with your second tongue. You can think about it with your second brain, and you can feel it with your second skin. There's a natural mystic in the air. If you listen carefully, you will hear.
You will hear. Man, with that being said, I think that is the perfect continuance because I don't end things. We just keep it going until the next time. And I just want to say thank you so much for feeding our souls. Forever grateful. And we're going to pick up where we left off next time we link up.
I'm looking forward to it, brother. And thank you for the opportunity. And thank you for all that you do, and Blue Pill, and all those that follow you. To everyone that's online here, I want to tell you something that I've come to realize as I've matured. The most precious thing that we have is time. How you spend it, you can never get back.
Right.
You can make a lot of money, you can lose it, and you can make a lot more money. You can build houses, they burn down, you can build more. But there will never be another October 16th.
That's right.
2023. How you spent your time determines who you are. Don't waste your time, and teach the children the truth so they can fix things. Keep on keeping on, family. It ain't over till we win. Solar power is the future wealth of the planet. Teach the children.
That's a fact.
All power to the people.
All power. Indeed. Salute, Kaba. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. All right, family. Love and light. We'll be back Third Eye Thursdays. You dig what I'm saying? Shout out to Blue Pill. Shout out to KT the Arts Degree. Shout out to Mama Pill. Peace. For my Patreons, I will see you on Wednesday when we have our good brother Ross Ben in the building. Sign up to the Patreon. Hit the Cash App. Love and light. Peace.
I come down into the real world from the clouds. I exist in the clouds. Now they see me out the country. It's Red Pill. He's real. He came down from the clouds. Right.
Up in the Dumbo, smoking the gumbo. Few blocks before green, yeah, up in the jungle, coconut bundles. It's history in the making. I'm popping like fish to the grease and the bacon. My bitch is Jamaican. United we stand, dividing these bands. They hide in their hands. I'm riding in vans, fly through your land. Hopping the sprinters, tour of the underworld, popping the mentor. Land of the turtles, I'm popping that splinter. Watching the snowfall, dropping the winter. Dodging the pitfalls, watching this bitch fall. And I still managed like Rich Paul. The paper was calling, I had to go switch calls. I spoke to my twin, I told my young boys I'd never be broken again. Invoking the gins, spitting the spirits, I'm soaking the gin. Your man's in the woods, we smoking on him. Fuck do you mean? We up and squeeze, tuck it and leave, we leaving a stain. Fuck up for breeze, running the banks, causing a crash and flipping the feds. Moorish the fashion, flashing, horses was smashing, kicking the door. Wave on 4-4s, it was blasting. Mother the gassing, loving the passion. Eat on your food, the brother was fasting. The weapon that formed against me was me. Perfected the storm as Bentley receipts. Washing the benches, we rinse and repeat. Sanctuary of self, I'm centered on me. Red is the pillar, I'm pushing the piece. Higher the level, I'm pushing the keys. They going for 19. The summer is mine, I'm going for 19. Thunder and lightning flooded a bright lean. The hunger was biting, biting.
Do not allow anything to take you off of your square. It's the same thing like what we see right here. Yeah, it's cloudy, yeah, it's misty, but it ain't gonna stay like that forever.